Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast, where we talk about everything dog. Q&As with veterinarian professionals, rescue operators, everyday topics. We cover everything dog on this podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media on both Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again for listening. Now here's that next episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast. We have a special guest today joining us. You might know her from the Instagram account Dogs Love Jacksonville. Her name is Stephanie. So Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
So tell us a little bit about you and maybe your Instagram page or kind of what you do in general.
Sure. So I'm a dog mom to a little 9-pound rescue dog. I moved to Jacksonville from upstate New York about 4 years ago. And one of the main reasons we chose Jacksonville of all of different parts of Florida was how dog friendly it was. I had a dog previous. He was elderly at the time. But I just love that you could take the dog on the beach. You could take the dog out to restaurants. You could take them anywhere you wanted. And so that was one of the reasons we chose to move here. And I'm an advocate for rescue dogs, advocate for dog training, and just an all-around dog lover. So I decided to start this page to kind of help other people who are either new to the area or even people who have lived here for a long time, who just don't realize all the different things you can do with your dog, what places you can bring them. And so I just thought it'd be nice to have it all in one place, online, for people to be able to come and see if there's anything going on this weekend or next month. And if they want to go out to eat, just be able to just go to one spot and say, oh, let's go here. They allow me to bring my dog.
Right. Yeah. And that's how we found you. We found you on Instagram. You shared different things from different events and rescues. Kind of like what we try to do too is kind of share that information. And I like that you're localized to Jacksonville. So this episode is great for anyone that lives here, anyone that's going to visit or vacation, or you're looking to move somewhere. So we're going to kind of talk about just Jacksonville, Florida in general. And how dog friendly it can be. So first thing I wanted to start with was dog parks. So we actually have quite a few dog parks in Jacksonville. Do you have any favorites yourself?
Well, I visited a handful, and I don't go into many with my dog unless it's pretty quiet early in the morning because he is so small, and I just get nervous about him getting injured by getting run over by a big dog or barking at the wrong big dog. It would just take one false move and it could be dangerous. So, but we do go to there's one in St. Johns County, actually just south of Mandarin, Veterans Dog Park. That one's usually pretty quiet in the morning. It's a great little spot, and they do have a small dog and the large dog area. There's one in Riverside, the John Gorey Dog Park. There's at Austin Park. We up in Arlington. They have a dog, small and large dog areas also. Springfield Dog Park. There's also Tilly Fowler has a large and small dog area. So there's a lot of the city parks that have them for free that you can go to.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about some of those free ones. I've been to Ed Austin, and that one is pretty nice. It can get busy towards the middle or end of the day. So that's one of those ones you got to kind of watch. And some of those other ones like Brewhound down in Atlantic Beach, that one, they have an actual kind of bar set up if you want to get drinks while your dog's hanging out. And they have a small dog park. And then Canine Social. Have you been over there in Riverside?
I've not been inside, but I know where it is. But yeah, I love the concept of a place where you can take the dog, have a beer, have a coffee, and just play around.
Yeah, and Canine Social has an indoor-outdoor situation. So if it is raining, I mean, it does get a little busy inside, but they have an indoor area, which is nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is cool.
And then, so we talked a little bit about dog parks. What about some trails or just any other parks that you can think of? I know you've shared a couple of those.
Of course. Jacksonville, believe it or not, has the largest urban park system in the whole country. So we're really lucky. I think there's like 400 parks in Jacksonville. Some are really small parks, like little pocket parks. And then others are acres and acres. One of our favorite trails to go on is the Durban Julington Creek Preserve. There's about 4 miles of trails. Some of it's shaded, some of it's not. There's always wildflowers and butterflies, and it's pretty quiet. There's not usually a lot of traffic, and the trails are wide, so you can get away from other people if they have a dog and you need to make space. So that's probably our favorite long trail to go on.
Okay. There was one that I had in mind, and I always have to spell it because I can't say it. So as soon as I say it, you're going to know, but it's Jacksonville, Arboretum.
Yes, the Arboretum. Yes.
Yes, and I can never say it, so I'm not even going to try. Um, but that one's a little bit closer to like the Arlington area.
Mhm.
Um, so that's one of the other options that kind of came to mind for me with trails. And I know one of the concerns, of course, with trails, especially in Florida, you've got to watch out for snakes, alligators. I mean, we don't see that many alligators in Jacksonville. Like we're pretty lucky. And I say that, and watch me see an alligator soon. I think snakes is really the big one. Like I even have a ton of snakes in my backyard. I saw a snake at the beach last week. So that's
Yeah.
kind of one of those concerns whenever you're doing those trails.
Yes, for sure. And on trails, I never let my dog off leash for that very reason. If he
Hmm.
runs behind a tree and comes back and it's been bitten by a snake, I have no idea what kind of snake it was. So I don't know if it could be an emergency. And so it's always important to keep your dog on a leash on a trail. And you
Right.
mentioned the Arboretum. Another great place that's up in that sort of neighborhood neck of the woods is the Spanish Pond Trail. That's a
Hmm.
really beautiful one. Um, and the Fort Caroline Monument also has a really beautiful trail. It's kind of the most hilly place around here, if you can believe
Okay.
there's hills there. The most like of an actual workout of a hike. Uh,
Yeah.
but there are really, I mean, there are so many parks to choose from to go for
Right.
really long walk.
Yeah. And then next one that's probably on everyone's mind is going to be restaurants. So,
Yes.
what are some of your favorite dog friendly restaurants?
So there are a handful that really cater to dogs and just advertise. We allow dogs on our patio. We love for when you bring your dog. Um, Mojo Barbecue is one down in Riverside. Cantina Louie loves dogs. Wicked Barley, Taco Lou. They'll even bring you a little dog bowl with water if you didn't bring your own.
Yeah.
Uh, the Main Street Food Park is dog friendly. There's all sorts of different options to eat there. Um, but those are some of our favorites. Also, the taco place, Flying Iguana, up at the beaches.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
advertise that they love when dogs visit their patio.
Yeah, and in that same area, Poe's Tavern, they allow
Mhm,
dogs on their patio, and they have a little patio. They allow dogs there,
mhm.
and then any of the Southern Grounds location that have a patio. So that new Southern Grounds in Avondale, the one that's over at Neptune Beach, those are pretty dog friendly with their patios. And we're going to talk about places that might not be dog friendly. But more often than not, I feel like if they have a patio in Jacksonville, they usually allow dogs.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I find the same thing. I really can't think of a time I've ever been turned away with my dog at a patio. Usually I know ahead. I'll check Yelp if I'm not totally sure.
mhm.
I'll look ahead just to make sure because I don't want to get somewhere and expect to be able to sit down and then have them say, no, I'm sorry, we don't allow dogs. But, and also most of the breweries too, whether they have food or not, I feel like breweries and dogs kind of go together.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Victorian loves when you bring your dog to the patio. Southern Swells has a little patio up front. Yeah, breweries and dogs go together.
And then some of I guess we'll call this last kind of category miscellaneous, different stores and I'm going to say places. I'm going to put that in quotes. And I'm kind of thinking of like the Riverside Arts Market,
Mhm.
some of those places, obviously stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. Can you think of any others that kind of come to mind for you on places that are dog friendly?
Most of the garden centers welcome your dogs in. So Ace Hardware or the nurseries like Plant Ranch or um, Earthworks on Beach Boulevard. They encourage you to bring your dog shopping with you there. Um, what are some other places? Tractor Supply.
Hmm.
I'll bring my dog out to places like that because it's great place to train, being around other people on different smells. So,
Right.
the Ace Hardware, I think I mentioned that one. St. John's Town Center, a lot of the shops in the whole sort of outdoor mall there, a lot of them do allow dogs even to go inside the stores with you. But the whole of St. John's Town Center is known to be pretty dog friendly.
Yeah, we don't take our dogs over there that often. Honestly, it just gets so busy over there that we're like, oh, we're gonna leave the dogs at home.
Yeah.
But maybe kind of in like we're kind of in an off season right now, so now would be a good time, like in the spring.
Yeah.
Uh, and so kind of hinted at places that are not dog friendly. And
Mhm.
this is the only thing that I really couldn't think of anywhere in Jacksonville because I probably haven't tried or called. So are there any places you can think of that are not dog friendly that people should be made aware of?
So not in terms of restaurants or places with patios. I haven't found that here yet, but there are a few parks that are not dog friendly that I was surprised to learn about. Huguenot Park up in like New
Okay.
York area, no dogs allowed. They do allow dogs if you're camping. They have a small campground there, but you can't just bring your dog in on a day pass, like a drive-in, go fishing, or visit the
Hmm.
beach there.
Okay.
um, some of the state parks. Also, there's a few state parks around here. Um, Boneyard Beach up in sort of like between here and Fernandina.
Hmm.
That the beaches at the state parks definitely are not dog friendly. There's one south, like St. Augustine, Alexandria, or yeah, I think it's Alexandria Oaks Park. I think that's the name of it. Their beach
Okay.
is not dog friendly. Um, and then some of the springs, there aren't any springs right in Jacksonville, but some of the ones that are like maybe an hour to an hour and a half drive,
Right.
a lot of those are, you cannot bring your dog into those parks or on the trails at any of those. So just always check before you go to make sure that you can.
Hmm. And on beaches, so I don't think a lot of people know this. I've been seeing this lately. So at Jacksonville Beach, and gosh, I'm blinking on the months. Is it what, between April and October or March and October? But you can't be on the beach with your dog between 9 and 5. Like,
Yeah, I believe it's April to October. I believe you were right about that.
yeah. Which,
Jacksonville Beach,
mhm.
Neptune.
And then Atlantic, I'm pretty sure Atlantic changed everything where you could have your dog out there all day, year round.
Mhm.
But I mean, those ordinances make sense. I mean, it's probably way too hot for your dog to be laying on the beach. Playing in the water for a little bit is one thing, but that sand and how hot it gets, those kind of make sense to me. But I do see people on Jack's Beach during the summer. They're waiting. They're going to get a ticket if they're on there between 9 and 5. So that's kind of one thing to
Yes.
think about.
Yes, and we're one of the Northeast Florida has dog-friendly beaches from Fernandina all the way on down, like past Palm Coast, almost to Daytona.
Hmm.
Almost all of that whole 100 miles of beaches, you can bring your dog at least some of the day.
Right.
Uh, but there are the few that have the hours of the day and the months of the year.
Yeah, which is very different from like Destin and 38 area. You can't have your dog on the beach at all over there.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was surprising. We took a trip. We were going to walk the dogs on the beach as one would, and you're not allowed to. So Jacksonville, yeah, like you said, very pet friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, before we take our dogs to any of these places, we need to understand etiquette and body language. And so etiquette, I mean, you even mentioned it earlier, keeping your dog on the leash. It's the law. You have to have your dog on a leash. It protects your dog. It protects other dogs. Um, Obviously with etiquette, bringing bags to pick up any waste material. What's some other etiquette that you can kind of think of to just tips for people? Maybe they're a new dog owner and they haven't explored with their dog yet.
Sure. Definitely keep the dog on the leash. I feel like that's the number one thing for, and it also helps because another etiquette thing is to keep your dog from approaching other people and other dogs.
Hmm.
You don't want your dog being running off leash, even if they're friendly, up to another dog that's on a leash, because that dog may not be friendly, or it may be friendly, but not with a dog coming up from behind in its space, not realizing that it's on its way over.
Right.
Another thing is don't pet anyone's dog without permission. That's a huge one
Yeah.
because maybe they're in training, maybe they're a service dog that's just not marked as such, maybe they're not friendly. Do not pet anyone's dog without asking permission first, and teach your kids that too, because so many kids just think, oh, it's a cute little dog and go running after. And it can be really scary, especially for small dogs, to have people just encroaching their space and bending over them.
Hmm.
And um, yeah, and don't also don't engage a dog, like make little smoochy sounds at it if it's just walking by. Like just leave dogs alone. You know,
Right.
if you want to pet the dog and you want to interact, just ask first. That's
So it's the
common
same rule for
sense.
humans. Don't
Yes.
don't make sounds at humans. Don't engage if they don't want to. Don't touch them without their consent. Same rules apply for dogs. So
Yes.
it's bad we have to remind people of that, but I mean, people, you'd be surprised when people come up and pet my dogs, especially their kids will just run up and it'll be like 4 or 5 kids at once, and my dogs are terrified. So yeah, that's a huge one, and just making people aware. Some people just, don't think about it.
No, I had a little girl come up one time at Riverside Arts Market and she said, "Oh, your dog's so cute. Can I pet your dog?" And I said, no, he's a little bit fearful of strangers, because that's sort of my little thing that comes out of my mouth every time. And she said, "Well, I'm not a stranger." And she stuck her hand out. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And her mom wasn't paying any attention to her. And she did. And she turned around and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We're working on this. You need to ask, honey." And I said, "Oh, she asked. She just did not like my answer." So
Right.
if the answer's no, the answer's no. You know,
Right.
don't push it. Just move on. Find
Yeah.
another dog where the answer's yes.
Yeah. And this kind of bleeds into body language. And you see it all the time, whether you're at like a dog park or just walking on a sidewalk. And people are like, oh, he's friendly, and lets their dog kind of pull to another one. And the other dog is showing body language showing, I don't want any part of this. So what are some kind of cues or some signs in body language that you see that kind of signals like, hey, this dog is not interested?
Yes. A tail being tucked, a tail down and like between the legs, with like a hunched back. If a dog is panting a lot and it's not really that hot out, that's a sign that they're stressed.
Hmm.
So when you see those two things together, especially, the dog really doesn't want to be there, or it doesn't want to be doing what it's doing if it's being asked to be pet or something like that. And you said yes, that's a sign that they're not comfortable with it. Another one is if their ears are pinned down.
Hmm.
Um, Again, they're uncomfortable, stiff posture. And then some dogs, they seem to be fine, and you say, "Sure, go ahead and pet them," but then the dog will start to lick his lips a lot,
Hmm.
and that's a sign that they're uncomfortable. And lip licking is like a step or two before the dog might nip. So
Right.
if you see the dog licking its lips a lot, that's kind of an indication. Okay, just take your hand away and step
Yeah.
away. You don't need to be in the dog space. It's a little
Right.
uncomfortable.
Right. And then kind of circling back to earlier. So if we are taking our dogs out, I mean, you see some people are over prepared, some people are not prepared at all. And so we got to think about like what we want to bring, especially in Florida. It's so hot out. So obviously some kind of water. I like the little collapsible bowls. So I almost always just clip one of those on. I'll bring a collapsible bowl with me. Obviously bags to pick up any waste materials. What are some other things that you like to bring if you're going to take your pup out and about?
I never leave the house without treats, even if I'm just going in my neighborhood, because I always want to have something that I can reward my dog when they're doing what I want them to be doing.
Hmm.
So even if we're just walking down the street and a bicycle goes by, and my dog used to be nervous around bikes and bark at them and they don't, I want to be able to give them a treat. And it's also helpful to get them sometimes through a busier area if you need to. Um, just to kind of lead them through with little food. And also if you're planning to sit for a while, like at a restaurant, Something like a little blanket or a little towel, something that they can lay on that'll be comfortable, so they're not laying
Hmm.
right on the hard ground. They're going to be more inclined to settle down and be calm if they have something comfortable to lay on. And also, like a long-lasting chew bone. Again, if you're going to be sitting in one spot and expect the dog to sit for a period of time with you, that's helpful to have because that'll give them something to do, keep them busy, and a little treat.
Right. Yeah, those are all really good ideas. And then we wanted to talk about, you kind of mentioned this before we got on air, but so some different classes to set your dog up for success. So if you do want to have your dog out and about and kind of take them around, do you have some classes you might recommend for those dogs?
Absolutely. So besides just your basic training, basic manners training of sit and down and things like that, a little bit more advanced class that's specifically for taking your dog in public is called the AKC Canine Good Citizen. And it's a 10 skill program that's standardized no matter which trainer you take it with. They're going to be the same 10 skills that you'll learn. And it's things like a really good recall, to be able to be left on a leash with a friendly stranger for 3 minutes without the dog panicking and whimpering and freaking out. Um, and how to walk through a crowd. So how to have the dog will learn to stay near you and to make eye contact with you, how to go through a crowd. If you were to stop and greet a stranger, the dog would learn to sit next to you. So all really, really good manners.
Hmm.
And that's why it's called Good Citizen, Canine Good Citizen, is because it's to have your dog be the best citizen it can be. And then at the end, if there's a test, and if you pass the test, you get an AKC title for your dog, which is kind of an added bonus. It's like a little bit of a bragging rights, but it's just something to work towards with your dog, especially if you're planning to take them everywhere with you.
Right.
And the class usually is a 5 or 6 week class for an hour a week. And then the test would be the last week or the following week. So it's not a huge commitment, but you're going to learn so much.
Hmm.
So I really
Yeah.
think it's worth it's a class that I think everyone should take really with their dog if they do plan to take them in public a lot.
Yeah. A lot of transferable skills that are going to come in handy even when you're at home.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about some events coming up in Jacksonville for April or even for May. And I wrote down two events that I could think of that I had people kind of write in. One is the dog show in Elkton, Florida. I think it's April 8th and April 9th. And then
Yes.
the other one is a dock diving event in St. Mary's, Georgia. It is, I think it's April 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then what are some other ones you can think of?
There's always dog sporting events in Northeast Florida. We're really lucky. There's agility competitions, and there's also in April a disc dog event. So the like frisbee dog type event. Um, and then in terms of just dog friendly events, there's one of the largest for the year at Jacksonville Humane Society is on April 8th. It's called the Mutt Market, and it's a big fundraiser for the Humane Society. They have dog related vendors. You can bring your dog for dog day out. They'll have games and things for them to play and interact with. And then so that's a huge one at the Humane Society. And then there's a couple different ongoing and some like monthly or quarterly type of shopping events. Vintage Market Days is at the Clay County Fairgrounds on April 28th through 30th. It's like
Mhm.
vintage shopping, boutique shopping. You can bring your dog to that with you. It's all outdoor. Well, it's indoors and outdoors, but um, and then Phoenix Arts District is having an event called the Flea for All. So it's kind of like an arts and flea market. April 15th, dogs are welcome there. That's an outdoor event. Um, and and then the Jacks River Jam series is in April every year at Riverfront Park. And you are welcome to bring your dog there. Also, I think it's on Thursdays. Every Thursday evening is a free concert, but they're big concerts, like big names.
Hmm.
So those are all really fun things that you can bring your dog to.
Yeah. And it's not too hot yet. I'm going to say that with an asterisk because it's kind of been all over the place. It's been 90 and then 60, but now's the time if you're going to get out and about with your dog to do it in the spring.
Absolutely. And the evening events too are especially great because when the sun's going down, it's much cooler and
Yeah,
uh,
for sure.
yeah.
So, last question. I know I've already shouted it out a few times, but where can people find you on social media and kind of keep up with everything in Jacksonville?
Sure. So Instagram is dogs love Jax, Jax. And I have different highlights that you can follow along to. So if I always put my I keep them very updated. So events, there's an events highlight, there's a local rules and regulations laws highlight, there's a eateries highlight. So you can go there anytime, and if you're looking for a place to go eat, you can just check in there. Or if you want to see if there's anything coming up in the next several weeks as far as an event, just check the events highlights. I try to keep anytime I see an event that sounds fun, I try to keep it on there. All different types of things. Whether you can bring your dog or it's dog related, it'll be
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this episode. We really appreciate it and appreciate all the information you share on social media. So, anyone listening, please make sure you follow Dogs Love Jacks on Insta. And just thank you again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Canine Culture Podcast. Please make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and make sure you're following us on social media. If you have any recommendations, any topics that you'd like to hear, if you know of any guests that would be good for the show, or if you yourself want to be a guest, please reach out to us. Send us an email at canineculturepodcast@gmail.com or send us a direct message on social media. Thank you for listening, and please share this with any of your dog-loving friends.